Hello, my name's Bev and I'm the author of the book Please Eat, A Mother's Struggle to Free Her Teenage Son from Anorexia, which describes our family's battle with the deadly eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, which my teenage son Ben developed back in 2009 when he was just 15 years old. As you'll know if you've been following this blog, our holiday in the summer of 2010 in France was an absolute nightmare. It was horrendous, it was hideous, it was dreadful. And so we were in two minds as to whether to go on holiday in 2011 because we didn't want a repeat of what happened in 2010. And we decided that probably we'd just test the water with a short holiday in the UK rather than go abroad. And this post is from the 15th of July 2011 and it's called Ben, Me, the Contract, Kitchen Scales and Plenty of Food, but Not the Eating Disorder. Okay, so we haven't made it to France this year, and anyway, last year I vowed I'd never go on holiday again until the eating disorder was well and truly gone. But having said this, Ben and I are about to embark on a few days away in a country cottage in the Peak District. Unfortunately, Ben's dad can't come due to work pressures, so he's staying at home. Of course, my main concern is that we will have sufficient food around for Ben to keep to his daily calorie total. We've already done a dummy run of what a typical day might look like food-wise. Unfortunately, he refuses to entertain the idea of little emergency snacks like mini bags of fruit or nuts, etc. So I'm off to the supermarket later without Ben to stock up on a few emergency bits and pieces, just in case. After all, it's not like home where there's always something in the cupboard, fridge or freezer. My other worry is what the eating disorder describes as sitting around all day doing nothing, e.g. when we drive there and back, and if the weather proves to be too rainy for us to go walking in the countryside. So the contract will accompany us and points will be awarded for keeping to the agreed plan. The kitchen scales are coming too to ensure that Ben doesn't underestimate portion sizes. And before we go, I will weigh Ben to compare with last Friday and again when we return. We don't see Cams for another 2 weeks, so it's important for me to keep an eye on whether things are going up or down and adjust the contract accordingly. Am I confident things will go relatively smoothly? I think I am. And although the eating disorder will no doubt try its best to stow away in the luggage, I hope my preparations will prevent it from spending too much or indeed any time with us. Now all we have to worry about is the weather, and unfortunately heavy rain is forecast. And the next post is from Sunday the 17th of July 2011 and it's called It's Raining, It's Pouring, but so far so good on holiday as regards the eating disorder. It's Sunday evening and it's been raining virtually all day here in the beautiful Staffordshire Peak District, which means trying to keep everyone occupied all day. Everyone includes Ben's dad, who has been able to come here for the weekend but has to go home tomorrow to work. But so far, the eating disorder has kept a reasonably low profile. Mind you, I tend to feel that a so-called normal 17-year-old boy, when faced with waiting for his parents to drink up in the cosy local village pub before we go back to the cottage for our evening meal, would have had a packet of crisps or peanuts to keep the I'm starving hunger pangs at bay. They might also have ordered a beer instead of a Diet Coke. But hey, things are a million times better than on our French holiday last summer, when, within minutes or even seconds of arriving, Ben was having an almighty screaming, manic eating disorder rage. and Ben's dad was sitting outside, head in hands, threatening to drive right back to the ferry port. Ben has kept to the eating plan so far, which is good, but he didn't like all the emergency extras I stashed away, like cake, biscuits and sachets of drinking chocolate and so on. For the record, Mum, can you never do that again, please? He said. As Ben's dad and I discussed in the pub, after Ben had gone back to the cottage to heat up the pork stew and pasta, there's still something in him that insists on keeping to the calorie total to the letter. I'm not going over by one single calorie, presumably in case he suddenly balloons out into an obese monster. You would think that after 2 years of proving that this is most definitely not the case, and having lost weight in real terms over the last year, he would realise that this is most definitely not the case, and he would treat himself to 1 or 2 extras on holiday, like a slice of cake in a cafe, or one of the delicious home-baked Bakewell tarts provided by our generous host. But you and I know that the eating disorder isn't logical. It's also behaviour like this that makes us realise that yes, unfortunately, the eating disorder is still present, even if it is a shadow of its former horrendous self. Never mind, so far, within the first 30 hours of our week's holiday, things have not been too bad at all, except for the weather, of course, which is atrocious. That's the end of that post. You'll find a link below to my blog, and you'll also find a link to my website where you can download free PDFs of my blog, and also a link to Amazon where you can buy a copy of my book.